So team, welcome to Selenium plus Java live training day 1. So we just had an orientation session yesterday. Probably some of the questions that are coming up in the chart is pretty much answered yesterday, but I'll just take it up them again. Ashwini has a question: is this an advanced training in Selenium? So I don't know what is your definition of advanced, but it's definitely the uh, complete training on Selenium. It's definitely an advanced. If you're thinking of some of the topics like page object model, integration with continuous integration and continuous build tools like Apache Maven, Jenkins, WebDriver, we have considered it to be a basic WebDriver, advanced WebDriver. We will be dealing with everything like, rewriting from an Excel, creating a data-driven framework, creating a keyword-driven framework. So all that will be covered. So that is definitely an advanced, but just check with, is it match with your definition of advanced? Yesterday's recording, if you can go through, that will cover much more information, Ashwini, more than anything. So Suma has a question, will the recording sessions be sent every single day after each session? So only yesterday's one and today's one will be sent in an email, and going forward from tomorrow, it will not be sent in an email. It will be there in the IDE website. People who have completed the registration process and everything, you will be given an access to the site from which you have to log in and then go through the videos on a daily basis. Clear? Anybody has any other questions before we get into today's topic? Are we good? Anybody has any questions? Yeah, put it in the chat. Probably raising a hand will not help because muting, unmuting people will take a lot of time. So just put it in the chat. I'm sure I'll take it up all the questions. All right. So in the ongoing also, the questions are related, I'll be definitely taking up them. Otherwise, at the end of the session, we'll try to answer all the questions. Okay, so quick glance of thing what we done yesterday was, I'm not going to repeat completely. You have to go through the recording of yesterday. Everything, XPath, CSS, all that you will be learned. Those are the basic, identification mechanisms for the locators. So we'll have to look at all that. All right, so if you see what we typically done yesterday was we have given a quick introduction to Selenium, and then we looked at purpose of the Selenium. Then we looked at a little bit of history. Anyway, I'm going to quickly glance through that today. And then we looked at what is there in Selenium Suite 1.0, 2.0. And then I told you these are the primary tools we are going to spend some time, like Selenium IDE, in which we are going to spend about 3 sessions starting from today. 1, 2, 3 sessions, it will be done. Then we'll get into WebDriver, that is WebDriver 2.0. There again, we'll look at some of the basic concepts as well as advanced concepts. Then we'll look at Selenium Grid. Then we'll look at integration with Apache Maven and Jenkins, apart from various other frameworks like, data-driven framework, keyword-driven framework, hybrid framework. Then integrating with the databases to do some database testing. Then another advanced concept called page object model, in which you create one class for each page of your application. So all that will be done. Are you going to cover config file topic? In which specific context that you're talking about? Config file is a very general term. So anything that you wanted to configure it, you put it in a file and give it as an input. But I'm not sure which context you're talking about, Sheetal. All right. So what we did yesterday is kind of looked at that. This is an introduction to Selenium that we have discussed. It's a free open source tool used for functional testing, especially for web applications only, and it can be used for different browsers and different operating systems. And there was a question that, are we going to look at different browsers? Yes. Initially, we start with Firefox browser, which is default, but later on, we'll definitely look at Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, etc. Coming to operating systems, right now, which I'm teaching you on a Windows operating system, wherein we'll install Eclipse and everything, and we'll do it on a Windows. Definitely 1 or 2 sessions. I'll switch to Mac operating system that I have another laptop. we'll set up everything there, and then we'll run it from there also. So if you have any of these operating systems, it doesn't matter, you can actually use either of them. And we also kindly quickly touched upon that it is quite similar to commercial tools like HP UFT, only that Selenium focuses on web applications. Please be in mind that this Selenium tool cannot be used for Windows based applications. Instead, it can be used for mobile applications, but it cannot be used for a Windows based applications. The reason I had to compare a little bit on the UFT, because half of the crowd, that most of the batches we see, either they know QTP or at least they are aware of QTP. If you know QTP, again, it's both advantages are there, disadvantages are there. Advantages in terms of concepts, whenever we talk about a concepts, you will understand it easily. For example, locator identification or object identification, synchronization, or again some of the concepts like we're doing how we do validations for a particular checkpoint. So those things you will be actually feel it easy in the concepts point of view, but when you really get into the practical aspects of it, uh, they're totally different. So the way you write the code in QTP through VB script, the way you write the code in Selenium through Java is different. So you have advantages as well as disadvantages. So if you know, just keep that in mind, but don't try to compare everything with that. Like whenever I talk about topic, don't say how is this in QTP or how is that in QTP. Just learn it as Selenium, and then you'll be able to appreciate much better. If you don't know, that's well and good. Consider Selenium is your first automation tool, and start taking this as seriously, because there are a lot of job opportunities, and if you are especially planning to go for a job immediately after this course, so consider this as your major tool. We discussed the purpose of Selenium tool. In fact, any automation tool, if we wanted to repeat the testing, like you got a build and you have tested something, but you may need to test this again and again and again for the upcoming builds. That's when you actually go for a retesting or regression testing. Quick difference is, without any change you go for retesting, with change you'll go for regression testing. So either of the cases, automation will be useful. So not only Selenium, any other automation tool will be for the same. And we also discussed that it is for browser compatibility testing, OS compatibility testing, because uh, some of you are saying audio is breaking. Is it the case with everyone? Okay, okay, okay. So I think few of them are saying that. Okay, fine. So few of them are saying, let's continue and then see. Okay, then we have okay. So then we have, better you connect it to the wire rather than the Wi-Fi. That's what I do. So we looked at typically this is the purpose of the Selenium tool, as we have discussed yesterday also, and then we quickly touched upon the history of the Selenium. Like we said the Selenium, we started hearing it about 3 to 4 years back, but mostly if you look at the first version of it got released in 2004, in the year of 2004, and the company is ThoughtWorks is the one who actually developed this first version of it. The main developer, the founder of Selenium 1.0 is Jason Huggins. You keep seeing his name in most of the times when you try to download Selenium IDE or related plugins. You'll find his name there in the Firefox add-ins. But as alone, and it's only a freeware software with some of the people coming, contributing and developing, could not take it to a higher level. So that's when Google came into picture, and they have taken over this and started building majorly in, and then released the 2.0 in 2010. So Selenium 2.0 released in 2010, that is majorly by Google. And one of the lead engineer from the Google is Siman. The current version, as we have seen yesterday, it's 2.49.0. If you're just wondering where to see that, everything will be here, seleniumhq.org. This is the primary site for us. If you go to seleniumhq.org and if you go to the download section, today we are going to install IDE, Firebug. So you will come to know we'll be coming and using this very frequently. So this is the version 2.49.0. That is a version, latest version. I'm just updating my document as well with that. So the current version of is this. Now coming to Selenium Suite, typically it's not just a single tool. Like again, comparing with any commercial tool, you'll just buy a license for UFT or a Visual Studio. You just install the tool and you're done. It's not like that. So it is a collection of many tools. Like Selenium is just not a single tool, but it's a suite of softwares which is catering for different needs of an organization. 1.0 that came in 2010 had these components: IDE, RC, and a grid. Now RC is completely deprecated, so we can forget about that. Grid that had old one is grid 1. Now coming to Selenium 2.0, this is a major one that we are going to look at and work on this one. So Selenium 2.0, it has these components. One is Selenium Webdriver and Selenium Grid. Basically this is called Remote Webdriver. If a quick glance of these things, looking at the suite, what we had in 1.0, the Selenium IDE as it is remained. Whatever we had a Selenium RC and WebDriver 1.0, that has been merged and created as something called Selenium 2.0. Yeah, people especially developed some test cases in RC when they are switching to Selenium 2.0. Yes, this is, see, that is, Shweta has a question here. The new version can impact on the test cases written in the old version. It is pretty much, for example, if you're working on a tool and when you're going for an upgraded version, there may be some features deprecated, some new better features may be added. So it is kind of thing. But yeah, I totally agree. This is a major change. This is a major change. So that's where people who develop their scripts to RC, they might have completely deprecated them and converted into 2.0. Alright, so this is the Selenium RC and okay, Tanushree has a question. In QTP, it supports only IE browser. That's not 100% correct, Tanushree. By default, it supports IE, but you can actually run your scripts. If you buy a plugin, then you can actually run it on, you have to go buy a plugin from HP for Firefox and other browsers, and then with a minimal change or with no change, you can actually run it. So I have a below comparison between Selenium and QTP. No, ID is there in 2.0 also. Sorry if I missed it here. No, we have that also. But it is the same thing which introduced here is still there here. The only difference between, this is the latest one. Can you see here? ID is still there. RC and WebDriver 1.0 combined into something called Selenium 2. And this is Selenium Grid. So right now we have IDE. Let me do this way. So today we have IDE, we have Selenium 2, and we have Selenium Grid. These are the latest components of the Selenium suite. And if I say what is Selenium 2, it is definitely a WebDriver. RC is also inbuilt into it. It's called a remote control. So that's what, you don't need to really worry about it as it is anyway deprecated. But why I'm saying all that, because some people might have heard about RC, so they will have one question like, what is this? Okay, so that's why I'm touching this. You can actually forget about it. Selenium RC and WebDriver merged into single framework from Selenium 2, and Selenium 1 can be referred as Selenium RC. So if at all, there are few companies, hardly 3 to 4% of the people still they are using RC, so they are called Selenium 1. But we are going to directly start with Selenium 2. I'm not going to show anything on RC. Quick comparison between Selenium and Qt. Again, why I'm doing this, because this is a major competitor in the market right now, and people also who know QTP kind of migrating into Selenium. So probably this is the best time to quickly look at some of the differences and then totally work on Selenium tool itself. Yeah, if you are actually facing audio, just see if you can log out and log in. Probably that would help. Okay. Now coming to Selenium. Okay. Could be because if most of you are complaining, but I'm just wondering if I stop the recording, how can we continue? Let me try doing that. I'll just log out and log in a minute. Is that fine? So after understanding the introduction on the Selenium 1.0, 2.0 suites and the basic purpose of the Selenium, let us look at a quick comparison between the Selenium tool and its major competitor from the commercial side. We know Selenium is a freeware, but let's look at one another commercial competitor tool, that is UFT or QTP, that you might have heard about it, or some of you might have already have an experience on that. Looking at that, so Selenium, as we discussed, it's an open source tool. It's a free to use. It's free to use in such a way that you can actually take the Selenium code base, and there are some companies who enhance it for their purpose. They customize it for their purpose. They actually add a lot of code to it, which is specific to their company only. They will not put it back in the market, and it's not generic. So that is also, some people, you can take it to that level also. Whereas UFT, it's a commercial tool. You need to buy the license and you need to renew it periodically. So that's the major difference. One is open source, another one is commercial. Selenium supports all the browsers like Internet Explorer, Firefox, Chrome, Opera, Safari, all that. Whereas QTP, as we just discussed, the default is IE, but you can definitely run it in other scripts like Firefox and Chrome with few modifications, sometimes without modifications also. But the only thing is you have to buy the license separately. It comes as a separate plugin and you have to buy that plugin. And Selenium supports all the operating systems like Windows, Linux, Mac, and I already promised that I'll be showing you uh, both Windows as well as Linux, and if not Linux, both Windows and Mac at least. UFT supports only Windows. People who know QTP or UFT, you can appreciate me or comment me on this. It supports only on Windows operating system. Rajesh again says I'm not able to hear anything. Is it the case with anybody else, guys? No. So Rajesh, please. Okay, I'll have to tell him. All right, just give me 1 minute so that he can. All right. So now coming to the language, you all know one thing, right? Any automation tool, how does it works? It works like this. Basic feature that any automation tool will have something called recording and playback. Record and playback. Now when you actually record, for example, what does it mean? This is my application, let's say some web page. This is some web page, and this is my automation tool, whatever it is. I'm not talking about Selenium yet, any automation tool. When you use this tool and try to automate on this web page, this tool will generate the program, right? So using some language, it will generate a program, and that program is different from tool to tool that you use. The language in which this particular script will be generated is different from tool to tool. Now coming to Selenium, let me erase this quickly. Now coming to Selenium, what language we can use? Most of the people say, Java, but it's not just Java. That is true because 90% of the people or more than that actually use Java, but you can use with C Sharp, you can use it with Python, you can use it with Ruby, you can use it with Perl. There are so many other languages. Today when we actually go to IDE, I can show you what are the different formats you can do it also. But coming to UFT, it supports only VBScript and JavaScript. I'm not even sure if anybody heard about JavaScript can be used or not, but it supports both VBScript as well as JavaScript. Here, as I told you, we are going to focus only on the Java language with respect to the Eclipse tool in which we are going to write all the programs and execute. If you are going to use C Sharp, then people will use Microsoft Visual Studio and then write the programs in C Sharp for the Selenium. But again, as I told you, market percentage, job opportunities, based on that, we will actually choose in Java as a language. Selenium is extendable and flexible. What does it mean? I already told, like some of the companies, they take Selenium code, they extend it to their need. Yeah, JScript is Java. Where did I write JScript? Sharmin has a question, is JScript as JavaScript? Yeah, but I don't think I have mentioned anywhere as JScript. But if you come across anywhere, mostly yes, JScript is JavaScript. Okay, so Selenium is extendable and flexible. As we told you, people take the code of Selenium and then they extend it. They develop some frameworks on top of it and they try to sell it as they have developed some new framework and this is only for our company. But underlying could be the Selenium thing. UFT is basically flexible. It cannot be extendable, but it is flexible in terms of what you can do with the tool, and there are certain limited set of add-ins that you have. Like people who worked on UFT, by default you'll get something like VB, ActiveX, and some other thing, and then you have to go and buy an add-in for .NET, Java, SAP, etc., what you need. Selenium also supports for mobile devices testing, whereas qtp supports mobile devices testing using a third-party software. There are a few third-party softwares that are available, and if they integrate with that, it can also support, but Selenium can be directly used for mobile devices testing. Used only, this is a limitation, used only for a web application testing. We cannot use this for a Windows or a desktop applications. The advantage of UFT is it is used for both desktop or your Windows applications as well as web applications. So now the direct usage, if you ask me a question like, who are actually using QTP in today's, definitely still some companies are using, not companies, I think they are equally competitor now, both Selenium and UFT. If you have definitely a Windows application that you're running, there's no option that Selenium can be used because it's only for web. So people will go for UFT or some other tool. Apart from that, when it's come to web also, there are some major companies. If you look at Bank of America, HP anyway, it's their tool. But there are some companies that are still using UFT because the primary purpose is this. No official support is being offered. When it comes to Selenium, it's a freeware, so you won't expect readily some kind of a solution from anybody if there is. Okay, Mahbub has a question. Since you mentioned the Selenium support native mobile application or mobile browser testing application. To be frank, I'm not an expert on that mobile testing related one. I think you also have the same thing, and then I told you it's an out of scope for our discussion. If you're specifically looking at anything on mobile application, we have courses on Appium, the recording videos. Just check with them. But to be frank, myself, I'm not doing any mobile testing, majorly on web application testing. But I can get back to you on this particular question. Okay, Praveen has a question. Is there any add-on that could enable Selenium? No, there's no add-on concept here. Whatever is available, and desktop applications are 100% not supported. That is a limitation. But the primary purpose they started with is for the web applications. Okay. So the no official support is being offered. The reason because it's a freeware. People just came out of with their interest and contributed to it. So you don't expect anybody, as soon as you get a problem, somebody will come from and give you a solution. You have to go and, I mean, nowadays, since it's being used in many organizations for last couple of years, there are so many readily solutions available in the market. Just go Google it, you will find a solution. But you don't expect like an official customer support the way you get it in a commercial product like UFT. Because UFT is a commercial tool, obviously the moment you give a call or write an email, the technical team will be back of you to solve the problem. Okay, now you can, these are some of the points. Though QTP has more advanced capabilities, like in terms of it can be used for Windows applications, and it is Windows or desktop applications. But the primary reason why people actually use Selenium is overweight in terms of usage for three main reasons. One is the cost, because Selenium is completely free. Flexibility, because the number of programming language, browsers, and platforms it can support. That is the meaning of flexibility when I used it previously. So you can write in C#, you can write in Java, Python, any language. So that is a flexibility that you have. But the reason, because typically in an organization you might find people who already have the knowledge of Java, who already have the knowledge of C#. So you don't restricting them to come and work on one particular language like in QTP. They have to know VBScript to write the code or JavaScript. But that is not the case here. If they know Java, they'll continue with Java. If they already know C#, they can write the automation in C#. And another important thing is parallel testing. Something that UFT is capable of, but with only usage of Quality Center. Again, if you have seen UFT integrated with ALM or Quality Center, then you can actually run a batch test from there, which will go trigger it on different QTP tools, the tests and everything. But here we are going to look at one of the important component called grid, Selenium grid. And when we talk about grid, we'll see how we can actually parallelly run the test execution. So if I remember in one node, so typically grid will be like this. I'll just give a quick introduction, but we have detailed sessions on that. So there will be a hub that will set it up in the Selenium grid. Under this hub, you can go and create number of nodes, something like node 1, node 2. Like this, you can do n number of nodes. Under one node, you can run 5 Firefox instances. Under one node, by default, you can run 5 Firefox, 1 Google Chrome, 1 Internet Explorer. So that means in one node, you can run 7 instances parallel. So suppose you have, let's say, 700 test cases and you wanted to run 100 test cases on each node. You have 7 nodes and you can run them. So rather than running it in a sequential and consuming a lot of time, you can actually run with a grid. This way you can set up a hub. We'll discuss. So almost we spent about 2 sessions on Selenium grid. I'm just giving you an idea, parallel execution, how we can do. You can consider one node as one computer. One computer on which you set up the node and you can run 7 instances. 5 Firefox, 1 Google Chrome, 1 Internet Explorer. Like that in another computer, you can run another 7 instances. Okay. Just get an idea what is parallel execution. We have 2 sessions exclusively on that. We'll look at that. Okay. Any questions so far? now we are getting into the actual tools of it. We'll be starting and using two of the components today. One is Selenium IDE and Firebug. But before that, I just want to pause for a few minutes, maybe 3-4 minutes. If you have any questions, I'll just take it up. Otherwise, we'll move ahead. Okay, Suma has a question. Can we have as many nodes as want under hub? Yeah, so just setting up multiple computers. Of course, the moment you see the performance issues, then you will set up one more hub. All right. Any other questions? Yeah, we are coming to that. IDE, don't worry on that. I've not started on IDE yet. Whatever we have discussed so far, you have any questions on that? Can we do performance testing through Selenium? No, as we have seen the introduction part of it, it is purely for the functional testing of web-based applications. But you can add some timer functions. For example, before you, let's say you have filled up a registration form. Before you hit on a submit button, you can add a timer, and after coming the results back, let's say you got an acknowledgement, registration has been successful, then you can stop the timer through Java code, and you can see how much time it has been taken. But that's a single user. And again, if you concept of grid, if you combine, run it in multiple places, and you can do, but it's a little complicated. It's not a straightforward way of doing performance testing. For that, again, you have so many freeware tools like WebLoad, NeoLoad, apart from commercial tool like LoadRunner. Is it clear, Shweta? All right. Any other questions? Let's move ahead. Okay, so as I told you, the Selenium suite consists of three major components. One is the IDE, then you have your Selenium 2.0, nothing but WebDriver, and the third one is a Selenium Grid. We are starting with the first one in that, called Selenium IDE. IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. Integrated Development Environment. Like you can actually think of anywhere, I mean, where you develop something is basically how you call it as an IDE. If you know Visual Studio, that is a kind of an IDE. Wherever you write some kind of a program or a scripting, you can actually call it as an IDE. Okay, what you need. Deepika has a question. I want to listen demo. Please don't disconnect. What does it mean? Yesterday's one you're talking about? Anyway, okay, what you need in order to run the IDE, the Integrated Development Environment, what you need is a Mozilla Firefox browser. Most of you may not have the Firefox browser. That is the first thing that you need to have. And once you have it, if at all you don't have Firefox browser, then you have to go and install from this location. I'm going to share this document, put it in the Google Drive, and share it with all of you who is completing the registrations process today. Probably in a day or two, I'll be sending all that. Then what you should do is go to this particular location and then install it. So I'll just click on this to see the links are still valid. Every time when I actually talk about some things, most of them will be valid. Otherwise, we'll update them then and there. The way you have Google Chrome and Internet Explorer, Firefox is another browser, so that you have to install it here. So it's a free download. You can actually install from this particular location. I already have it, so Just like the way you install any other browsers, you won't find any difficulty in doing this. So that is a minimum thing, because IDE, remember the point, IDE works only on Firefox browser. That is a limitation again. That's why we go to WebDriver as soon as we're done with 2 sessions. So I have this Mozilla Firefox browser. Okay, so some of you might have go and pick up the latest version. That's always better. Which version of Firefox is compatible for latest version? So we'll see that. I mean, we'll pick up the latest one, and if we face any issues, we'll come back and see the lower version of it. But as of now, I just installed it yesterday night, and this is the latest one. Okay. Okay, so just install the Firefox browser. That is the first point. Once you have Firefox browser installed, the next thing that we have to do is installing the IDE. How do you install the IDE? Very important point. Okay, I think now I will agree. The breaking up is could be from my side. I'll try to fix it. Uh, you know, just give me for today. Okay, okay. I'll try to fix this. How do you install the IDE? The IDE, you have to install it only from the Firefox browser. Please remember this point, because most of the people, you try to do it from, because the definition that you can give it for a IDE is like this. Let's go to this one, you'll understand. Okay, I'm back to seleniumhq.org that you all I've just showed you. Okay, in the same seleniumhq.org, just go to the section Selenium IDE and see here. Selenium IDE is a Firefox plugin. Very important point. You cannot use this on any other browser. This needs to be used only on the Firefox browser. So that is a fundamental reason that you have to install your Firefox browser first, and then from that browser only you have to install IDE. Okay, quick definition of IDE. As you can see, it is a free, it's a Firefox plugin which is used for records and playback user interactions on the browser. So when you go try to do some interactions with the browser, this will be recorded. So you can create simple scripts to assist in exploratory testing. You can do some recording and playback on that. Uh, it can also, the code which we are going to generate in IDE can also be exported into WebDriver. That is the second component when we actually start. Whatever the code you generate here, it can be exported there, but we are not going to just rely only on that. We are going to develop completely scripts on our hands-on on our own. But first script probably we'll see how you can carry from an IDE to WebDriver, but later on we are going to completely write on our own on the WebDriver. Okay, so all you have to do is the first step, install the Firefox browser. Second, go to seleniumhq.org from the Firefox browser only. Very important point. You cannot do it from any other browser. Once you do that, go to this particular download latest released version. So you have here from add-ons mozilla.org. Just click on that link. This is a Selenium IDE, integrated development environment for Selenium tests. It is implemented as a Firefox extension, allows you to record, edit, and debug tests. All you have to do is click on Add to Firefox. That's all. The difference before adding and after adding, let me tell you. Can you see an icon here? This is actually an IDE. So this icon may not be there as soon as you install your Firefox browser. But after you click on Add to Firefox, when you do this, you will get an option like this. And when you install, it is asking you to restart. It's not your computer, it's just the browser. So you can do restart. Just the browser will be restarted. And you can see it came up back. And then after that, you will find this icon. Any questions on installing the IDE? First step, have the Firefox browser installed. Second step, go to seleniumhq.org from the browser, Firefox browser. Go to the section of Selenium IDE. Click on download latest version. Then click on add to Firefox. These steps will make you IDE installed on your Firefox browser. After that, you can just click on it. It will launch the IDE, or you can go from this menu, open menu, developer section, then you have Selenium IDE. Is everybody clear on how to install IDE? Anybody has any questions? Is everybody clear? Just say yes or no, guys. I'm not getting any response, so wondering. Okay, thanks. Thanks. Okay. Now let's go to IDE. What you can do with IDE, let's quickly do some examples today, and then probably tomorrow we do a manual way of writing. We can write the script manually on this, and then after looking at some of the advanced features, then we'll switch to WebDriver. Okay, as you can see, this is the latest version of the tool, IDE 2.9.1. Okay, Shailaja is saying, could you please repeat it again? So it's everything is documented here. I'll just go through those steps. How do you install the Selenium IDE, right? I told you first thing is launch the Firefox browser and navigate to this URL. If you don't have Firefox browser, you have to go here and install the Firefox browser. That is the very first step. Once you have the Firefox browser, go to the seleniumhq.org site, go to the download section. Then if you scroll down, you will find Selenium IDE. Like as you can see, I'm happy to repeat some of these because it's not a single tool that you're going to work. So you're going to download a couple of tools and integrate them together. So anywhere, if you have any questions, just let me know. I'm happy to repeat it. So once you are in seleniumhq.org, go to download section. In the download section, so many things will be there, and we will be using them as needed. Go to the section Selenium IDE. If you're noting down parallelly, that's well and good, but otherwise I'll send this document. That is also fine. In the Selenium IDE section, you have this download latest version. Sometimes they show the version here, like as you can see in my screenshot. Previously, when I have taken, they were showing the version here, 2.9.0. But right now they are not showing. So those kind of changes might be there in the document. So please be cautious on that. So you need to just click on this link. That's all. When you click on this link, this is where you will be taken. Add-ons. It's just a add-on to your Firefox browser. All you have to do is just click on this add to Firefox. That's all. Once you do that, it will give you an option called install. Click on install. After installing, automatically it will ask you to restart. It is not restarting your system, just the browser. So go ahead and restart. Your Firefox will be closed and launched back with this icon. So this icon will come. Before you do that, this icon will not be there before you install IDE. For launching the IDE, you can either just click on this tool icon, or you can go to menu, developer, Selenium IDE. Okay. Hope this is clear now. All right. So the latest version is 2.9.1, which we have taken it from the Selenium HQ org site. So this is the latest. You won't find anything better than this. The first thing what you can do, there are different menu options, like file menu options, edit menu options, actions related, options related, and help. So we'll look at quickly most of them as needed in this remaining 2 sessions apart from today, whatever the time we have. But let me tell you, this is not the only tool that you have to be master in. This is actually not going to be directly used for automating your projects, but it has its own usage. Okay, what is the purpose? I might have definitely documented. I'll just quickly tell you those steps. Yeah, if not, that's fine. So team, I'll take it on my part. I think there is a problem from my side for today. Uh, Please cope up with this, and mostly I'm showing on the demos and the tools, so I'll try to fix it by tomorrow. Okay. So on this tool, what I'm going to do is I'll say new test suite. I'm going to file and just say a new test suite. What is a test suite? A test suite is nothing but collection of test cases. Okay, you can create many test cases and just put them into one single suite. Test case, I don't need to explain. So whatever the validation that you wanted to do, some steps with validations is your test case, right? So you create some steps and then you do some validation in that, and that is what is called a test case. So I just selected file, new test suite. You got it as untitled. Right click, go to properties. I'll say something like test suite 2001, or I would say 0120. Just give some name to it. So this is my test suite. Okay. In this test suite, you can add a new test case. New test case. By default, it is coming as untitled. Let me right click, go to properties, give some name called test1. Click OK. So all I did is just created one test suite and one test in that. What is the file in the properties? This is where you're actually going to store it, where you're going to save it. We have not saved anywhere right now. When you actually do this save test suite, or when you say save test case, then file information will come. Okay, so I'm in test 1 right now. All I'm going to do is going to click on this record button. By default, when you launch Selenium IDE, it will be already in recording mode. Please remember that point. So after that, anything you do it on Firefox browser, it will actually start recording it automatically. So I think I might have stopped. That's why it's right now stopped. Okay, I'll click on this click to record button. So right now the tool is in recording mode. Anything you do it on the Firefox browser, only on the Firefox browser, because other browsers it cannot understand. Whatever you do on the Firefox browser, it will try to record it. So I'll go to Firefox browser. I'll again just go to the same website, seleniumhq.org. I will enter something like, maybe Selenium Webdriver. I'll enter something called Selenium Webdriver. Click on Go. Then I got some link here. I'll just click on that link. Okay. Then I got some information like Selenium WebDriver, etc. This is what I have just recorded. So what I'll do, and stop it. Now if you see, the tool has generated some code. No, please remember this point. IDE is only a Firefox add-in. It is an add-in for the Firefox. You cannot do it on any other browser, i.e. Google Chrome. That is one of the limitation why we just spend only 2 days on this and we go to WebDriver. WebDriver is the major one in which you do Firefox, in which you can work with IE, in which you can work with Google Chrome, everything you can do it. Please make a note of it. IDE works with only Firefox browser. That is a limitation of the IDE. Again, if you see the definition, it is a Firefox plugin. Is it clear, Tanushree? Okay. Is UFT same as QTP? Yes. New name for the QTP is UFT. And Suma has one more question. Whether it is, how do I know what I'm testing is a web application or Windows application? If you are opening it on a web browser, it's a web application. For example, if you are opening on anything on your Windows system like Paint, it's a Windows application. Eclipse is a Windows application. Notepad is a Windows application. Anything that you open on the web browser is a web application. Okay, Rajesh has a question. Why would we use IDE? The only reason IDE we use it is sometimes when you're actually writing a code in WebDriver, certain controls may not be identified with the logic that you write. So what you do, you can come back, do a quick recording on that, and see this target column, whether it is identified with an ID or this is an XPath or is it an XPath. You can take that information and same information you can put it in WebDriver, it will work. So one primary reason why people come to IDE is for locator identification. Whenever they face any problem with locator identifications, they'll come and use IDE. Just to understand how it is. We'll discuss all that. What is XPath, what is CSS, everything we'll discuss in detail. I'm just, since there is an example in front of me, I'm just using those names. We'll see in detail. But to answer question back, why we come to IDE, if there is any problem with locator identifications, when you're actually writing the code in WebDriver, we'll come to IDE, see how it is getting identified by simply doing a click basic record, and use the similar concept in writing the program. Is it clear? Okay. One another question. Is it mandatory to have IDE for WebDriver? No, it's not mandatory. WebDriver is altogether a separate thing, and IDE is a separate thing. Guys, by end of it, let me promise you on that, you will become master in all the three tools, but we have to go step by step. So we have to understand IDE, a little bit of it, to play around. It's not, so I have experience of teaching many batches, so let me go in an order so that you will feel at the end of it, okay, you have understood completely. Right now we're in the very first stage of it, we're just in day one, right? So IDE, another question, there was another question like, we cannot do Java coding in IDE. Okay, now coming to that, if you see, the code is generated like this, something like in a table format, something called open slash, what is this slash and all, we'll understand. And there is, it's used something called type command, then it's used something called click and wait, it's used another command called click and wait, and there is actually a source button here, source tab. If you go to source, then there is a code here. IDE is not similar to WebDriver, both are different. Yeah, these code, as somebody is saying, this particular code is called Selenium code. It's called Selenium. It's not Java, it's not HTML, it's not anything, it's called Selenium language. But this Selenium language, you can convert into Java, you can convert into C#, you can convert into any other form. How do you do that? Simple. Just go here, format. Can you see all these options? You can convert into all these options. By default, right now it's in HTML format. You can convert into C#, you can convert into Java, you can convert into Python, you can convert into Ruby, you can convert into all these types. So once we convert into, see this, once we convert into Java WebDriver, that code as it is, we can put it in WebDriver and run it. Now you're getting some idea why are we doing this, what is purpose of IDE. So at times, if you don't have time to completely develop the program in WebDriver, you have to do some quick automation. Let's say you have to do some quick automation in half an hour, 1 hour for something, and then you have to give it to somebody. Then you can come to this IDE tool, do a basic recording, and then give it that. But that's not a permanent solution. The actual permanent thing for your organization, for your project, we'll do it in WebDriver. We can do little same. So Tanushree has a question. We can't do coding here in IDE. We can do, but that is again like this, Selenium commands only. I'll do something tomorrow manually. You'll understand. It's Selenium commands only. Like this only you have to write. If you want to add next one, right? Something like this you have to add. For example, I wanted to do something like verify some text. Okay, just go here, and on which control you want to do. Suppose I'm just writing something, it's not a valid one. Let's say there is an ID called something like link equal to WebDriver. What you want to verify? WebDriver, something like this. So you need to write a code like this. Okay, Shailaja has another question. Why ID is not a permanent solution? If is it something that which cannot record and playback? No, you can record and playback, but it is only for a Firefox browser. That is a main limitation. Are you getting my point? And you cannot really do everything on IDE. For example, what you can do in Java code. For example, you can write some proper if conditional statements. You can write loop statement. You can do that in IDE also, but it's not straightforward. I'll show one example with loops. We have to again inbuild some plugin to do that, and then lot of tweaking is required. But in Java, just write an if condition. If A is greater than B, my condition is satisfied. Not condition is not satisfied. So many things, conditional statements, loops, right? So many advantages with Java programming, which you cannot do it here. Those are some other limitations apart from it's only Firefox. Is it clear? Okay, just let me delete this last line, which I have just added, and then let me play back. How do you play back? Whatever you have recorded, if you want to play back, the first thing you ensure your Firefox browser is open. Then just click on this button, play current test case. Okay. Okay, guys, sometimes I'm not speaking. Please understand that whenever I'm executing the script, I'm not actually speaking anything. So also I understand there is a little bit of delay, so please be patient. Okay, so now if you see, the entire thing is executed properly. There is no red color coming up, or there is no yellow color which is showing that it is passed or anything. Everything is kind of green, passed. If not very dark green, you will see some dark green color also sometimes. Right now it's light green, but it's a light green, and you can see everything is passed. If you, and there is an option here, fast and slow. If you want to reduce the speed, just make it slow execution and say run. So just we need to know about IDE, but again, project experience on WebDriver. Correct warning. IDE is just for only today, tomorrow, max 3 sessions, I told you. And whatever I'm going to teach on that IDE is also very important, because, okay, right now certain things are failing, okay? So whenever things are going to fail, it will be like this. Why it's failing? After entering this button is not visible. So let's play back it again. Yeah, so whatever we are going to just spend on IDE is very useful, but it's only very short time we are going to spend on this, because in real time we are not going to use this much. Yeah, now you can see everything is executed fine. So tomorrow what we're going to do, let's try to understand what is this commands, what is this target, what is this value column. We'll spend a couple of more examples, and then we will write an example on manually also to see how to write it something. And yeah, like Vani has, not Vani, Shailaja has question, does it create any temporary files as like Java? So what you can do now is just say save this test case. I'm saving this in my local system under D drive, Selenium folder, IDE scripts. I'll just save something called test2. Okay, I'll just save this as test2. Let me go to that file, D drive. So this is test2 file. This is how the file will be created, and it's an HTML file. Just open that. HTML file will be opened in the browser, whatever is your default browser. And the code will be coming like this. First you are opening a URL. What is the slash? I'll explain tomorrow. Type, then you click and wait, and then again you click and wait. The same code what you see is actually stored as an HTML file. So does it answer your question, Shailaja? This is how it will store. All right, team. So that's all what I have it for today. I told you another 2 sessions we're going to spend it on IDE only, where I'll be writing some scripts manually. We'll also add some checkpoints, kind of verify statements. I'll also show one example on how to work with variables, how to work with conditional statement or a loop. Then you will realize how difficult it is to work with IDE for apart from just recording and playback. Only recording and playback is fine, but rest everything we have to do struggle a lot. Those are some of the points why we will be switching to WebDriver, and which we can do it very easily. Yeah, ideally, just check with learn@itlearn.com. Ideally, from tomorrow it should be paid sessions. As I told you, yesterday's one and today's one, I'm sure you will get an email today with a link. But from tomorrow onwards, it will be there in the website only. People who have registration and completed, they will be having an access to view the videos. All right. So please take it for, all you need to do is just write an email to learn@itelearn.com. Okay. Yeah, all right, team. I'll definitely fix the audio's issues. Yeah. Rajesh, thanks for that. I'll be definitely try to fix that, and hopefully we should go smooth. I told you you will be getting access to Karthik videos also, like especially the data-driven framework, keyword-driven framework, hybrid framework. You will completely have to go through from Karthik videos. But there are so many other 30 sessions also, which I'll be dealing with on other topics. Putting together, it will be around 50 plus sessions, and that is your complete course. Like yesterday we discussed, it's a collection of video-based plus live sessions. You will get to see from two experts, Karthik and myself, so you can learn it from both of them. All right. Thank you, team. So good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you're from. See you tomorrow.